Good afternoon, I'm Stacey Leska with the Los Angeles Times. It's out with the old and in with the new this summer on HBO, and joining me to discuss its outgoing show True Blood and incoming show The Leftovers is television critic Mary McNamara.
Hello.
Mary, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
So lots of TV.
Skeleton staff.
I know,
today.
very
it's
empty
like everybody's
behind
gone.
us.
It's the summer.
No one invited us on vacation.
I know.
That's great.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, so we're going to talk about two HBO shows, their Sunday night lineup. The first one is one of my personal favorites, True Blood. I'm sorry, I still love it so much. And I don't know if it's because of the nostalgia factor, though, that it used to be a really good show. Can you tell me what happened to True Blood?
I don't know what happened to True Blood. I mean, I have never been like a huge devoted fan to True Blood. I mean, I admired what they were trying to do, and obviously it was a huge hit for HBO. And I think, you know, one of the first after The Sopranos where they had like a big, you know, rabid audience, and it opened the doors for all sorts of genre programming. So yay. But yeah, it really sort of went. I mean, they lost me when she went to Fairyland, when it turned out that Sookie was a fairy.
It's a couple seasons ago, too.
Yeah, exactly. And then Alan Ball left, I know, in, what was it, season 6? Did he leave, or season 5? And now it really is, I mean, it's camp. I mean, it's like so, you know, over the top, and they're just like everything goes, and it just feels very soapy, but with, you know, of course, every 15 minutes, the graphic sex scene, and then the graphic kill scene, and all that. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's kind of, it's having fun with its final season, so good for them.
Well, they kind of introduced this whole idea, though, of, you know, of course, it went from Sookie being in love with Vampire Bill, and he used to, you know, run the town. He was in the Civil War, the whole bit. But now it's turned into season 7 of, you know, they're making FEMA comments. It's kind of like, is this like post-Katrina, Louisiana?
I know.
Like,
it's kind of weird. Yes, the government is suddenly involved.
Yeah, they're really trying to make like a statement.
Well, and now you have like the good vampires and the bad vampires. And so that's kind of interesting. But you still have, I mean, it's about the people and about the shirtless men and the shirtless women. It's like, I sort of like timed it, and I think it was 3 minutes in before, you know, somebody's shirtless. And of course, Sunday's episode, you know, opened with the, you know, dream sequence of Eric and Jason, and, you know, it's like, when I'm watching it, I'm going, what the heck? And then it's like, it didn't even occur to me, of course it's a dream. Why? Because we saw Eric blow up into flames, and I'm like, but apparently he is still alive.
Yeah.
And not burned. So I need to know more about that, because it really looked like he was going down.
Well, it looks like he has Hep V now.
Yeah. So, but I mean, once the vampires catch fire, isn't that pretty much it? I thought that was it.
I guess so. We're going to have to find out who saved
him. He must have buried himself
him
in a snowbank or something just right quick. But yeah.
But really, though, this show does kind of have a little bit of television historical significance.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it was, you know, did usher in the, you know, vampire craze. You know, I mean, just the idea that, you know, the new takes on the vampires, you know, fueled by the Twilight audience to a certain extent, but this was clearly for adults. I mean, I remember when, you know, seeing the pilot in the first couple of episodes, it was very graphic, very sexual, very bloody, just, you know, no holds barred. I mean, anything goes, torture, S&M. I mean, we've seen like every kind of sexuality, you know, for minutes at a time. You know, we're just going, okay, we really get the picture. And so, in language, I mean, everybody swears all the time, and it's like, so, you know, that opened the door for all, you know, all the genre shows that we see, you know, because it was successful. I mean, and it got an audience, it got that devoted audience. I remember, like, you know, the first or the second year it went to Comic-Con, I mean, the line was just around the block. I mean, so, you know, whether or not it remains, you know, an important show like, you know, The Sopranos, you know, where it's that quality, but it was an important show in terms of showing the television industry, oh, here's something we can do, you know, because, I mean, and then so we saw the Vampire Diaries, so we saw, you know, now we have Grimm, we have, you know, all these monster shows all over cable and network, and True Blood really started that.
Yeah.
And then also there was the really lovely backstory of Anna Paquin and, you know, meeting her co-star and falling in love.
Her real life
and,
husband.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they're married, and they're
Sookie.
still married,
Yeah.
and one hopes they will remain married after they stop working together. And they have, what do they have, 2 kids now?
Yeah, they have
so
twins. Yep.
Yeah, so that's really
Not
nice.
that I know a lot about these people's lives, apparently. Gosh.
You are a super
Not that
fan.
I'm obsessed or anything.
But I mean, if you remember when, you know, it was Anna Paquin too. I mean, it was supposed to be a vehicle for her because she was sort of, you know, the kid who won for the piano. When how old was she?
11.
11. She won an Oscar, and she was trying to get her film career going, and she was in X-Men, and it didn't quite, you know, go. So this was. I remember, I mean, that was a very big deal. And then, you know, then you saw, as so often happens with these vehicle shows, that like sort of the ensemble is what makes it.
Yes.
And, you know, they had so many great players. And it was, you know, a very racially diverse show, a very sexually diverse show. I mean, so in a lot of ways, it was very groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And Alan Ball, it was very exciting to see him do this. And so, yeah, I mean, it is an important show.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, it's ending.
I know.
In a very, it's like I was watching it, I'm going, this is like Dark Shadows. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
it might have needed
know.
to end maybe 2 seasons ago.
Well,
I think.
maybe, yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. You know, I don't know, because it is based on the novels. And again, I have to say, I'm not sure how true it remains to the novels.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have a sense that they kind of went into it possibly without like having a big story to tell. It's like, okay, here's what the story is. We're going to get our characters from here to here. I think they just went, okay, this is a fun novel. Let's adapt it. We'll see what we can do with it. And now they're like just sort of, you know, figuring out how they're going to end it. And I think, I mean, don't you think Sookie and Bill are going to get back together?
I think so, especially with Sunday's episode, because how they were reading the diary of the girl in the other town who kind of mirrored Sookie and Bill. And she said she met him in a bar, fell in love, went to Fantasia for the first time. And it's like, I'm sorry, are you reading your own life script? Is this what is happening? Although I have to say, like season 6, I really wanted her to end up with Eric.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know why I switched my Eric and Bill
I always
teams.
thought Bill in the beginning was just like, he was the mopiest vampire.
Yeah,
he was so sad, and you're just like, the one thing that it kind of bothers me about like vampires in general is that, you know, here are these people who have lived for hundreds of years, and yet they seem to have required no wisdom. You would think there would be something a bit more zen, you know, if you've seen generations and the wars and the presidents, and, you know, you'd think you would have like something, but they all seem to act like teenagers.
I mean, Eric was a Viking. He's been around for a while. You know,
I like the flashback. Didn't they have a flashback? Was it last night where with him kissing? Was he in the Union Army? I guess he was in the Confederate Army.
Oh, Bill.
Yeah,
yes,
Bill. Sorry,
Bill was Yeah. Bill is a newer, younger.
Eric was the Viking. Yes.
All right. So how do you think it's going to end with Sookie and Bill?
I think that I mean, but I just don't know what. I mean, I don't know how, you know, what the big end is going to be. I assume they're going to figure out how to get rid of the Hep V vampires, because that's, you know, really irritating and has to go, because whole towns apparently are being eaten, but, you know, but only in the South.
Yeah.
One thing I will miss about it, you know, when I was watching it, I have to say I haven't watched, you know, multiple episodes for a while, is that the setting is really beautiful, and the sets are very beautiful, and the cinematography is very beautiful. So it's like, you know, except for when they go to Fairyland, it just
Fairyland is just too much.
With the chandeliers hanging, you're just like,
from nowhere.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, and I love that it's fairy. It's like not spelled as a fairy.
Right.
It's,
Right.
Something else. I mean, it's funny too to think about throughout each season. They've gone from they have vampires, then there's werewolves, then there's fairies,
and there was, you know, all sorts of demons.
But now all of a sudden they're like, let's bring it back to vampires again. You know, like they can't come up with another monster.
Well, and you know, we love them so much. I mean, we're just seeing. I think Sunday night was also the end of Penny Dreadful on Showtime, which was, you know, a much more overt kind of like, let's throw everything in the stock pot. So you had, you know, vampires, you have Dorian Gray, you have Frankenstein, his monster, you have, you know, all these archetypal, you know, Gothic icons working together. So it's like, again, and that you can certainly make a straight line from True Blood to Penny Dreadful.
Okay, let's talk about
For
their
better
new
or
show.
worse.
I know. True Blood started it all. Okay, so the new show, The Leftovers, also based on a novel.
Which is kind of weird when you say it, like in conjunction with True Blood.
I mean, have my old mac and cheese with like watching the show.
When you think about what the leftovers are in True Blood, it's like kind of like,
God,
whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're following, of course, Justin Theroux playing Kevin, the cop, the chief of this little small town. After, of course, possibly... We're not really sure what happened.
2% of the world's population has just vanished for
they
no
think
reason.
It's the rapture, but
well,
sure.
Some people say it's the rapture, but there is no indication that it is the rapture. It could also be aliens sucking them up, or it could be some mass hallucination. You don't know.
Interesting.
I don't think you ever know.
You
I
never
have not
find
read
out?
the book, and I'm like torn between whether I want to read the book and find out or not. But I have seen 3 episodes, and no, and that is not the point of the story. The point is not a mystery. Nobody's trying to figure out what happened. The point is, I mean, as far as I can see, it's like it's a very large metaphor for how we all deal with personal loss. It's like on a global level, and so the way in which often when you lose a loved one, cracks appear, and some people get over it and some people don't, and some people lose their minds, and some people find courage greater than they thought they had. That's what is happening on a social level, which is that even though it's not an apocalypse in that the lights are out or there's no food or it's just a big enough of an impact that everybody's sort of thrown off. And the greater thing is, of course, you now have people living in a universe where the impossible has happened. And so if the impossible has happened, then there is nothing that is impossible. And so how do you cope with that? That you're living in a world where who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, apparently some people cope. Lori, Kevin's wife in the show, you go through the first episode thinking she has disappear, but it turns out she's a member of a cult now.
I can't remember what it's called.
Well, they smoke a lot.
The guilty remnant. The guilty remnant, yes. And so they all dress in white, and they do not speak, and they smoke a lot, and their exact mandate or philosophy is also not spelled out. I think it's in the pilot when they have a big do to memorialize. It's 3 years. The action starts. The real action starts 3 years after everybody's vanished, and so they're having a memorial service, and the guilty remnant show up, and they're just sort of holding signs saying, "Save your breath." That's their slogan. And so their point, it seems to be that it's like there's no point in talking about it. There's no point in trying to figure it out. Life as we know it is over, and so we're just sort of unmoored. And so they are symbolizing what it is like to be unmoored. And I can only assume the smoking is, well, who cares? Since we, what does it matter? We're all going to die anyway. I don't quite get the smoking. There are a lot of things. When I was watching it, I kept thinking about the Ellen Jamieson Society in The World According to Garp. Do you remember them? The women who cut out their tongues, and so they were silent. And there were a lot of things about the pilot that were reminiscent of other things. And that was very weird. And I'm kind of anxious to see where that goes and to see if it's intentional. Or whether it's just sort of accidental, or whether I just watch too much television, which is quite possible. Because, it's very Stephen King-y in a way. And, we have Under the Dome, which has kind of a similar situation in which you have you're watching the residents of a small town deal with extreme duress. And it's you always focus on the sheriff somehow. I know. It's like, so there's the sheriff. They're supposed to have order and not have the guns, answers. And it's like, and then there's the other thing was there were deer, like there's a deer figure in, and I kept thinking, what is it with deer on television? Because we had deer in Hannibal, and we had deer in with the antlers in True Blood, or not True Blood, True Detective.
I was going to say, because it is very True Detective-esque, where it's kind of appointment viewing, because you have to watch very carefully on the show to pick up on it.
It's not about plot. It seems to be driven very much by mood, and I'm not sure what the mood is, because it has a little bit of an overbearing soundtrack. Memo to HBO. But it's so it's like you kind of, there are cues in which you think, because you're conditioned for certain things to mean certain things, where you think, okay, well, here's where some supernatural thing is going to happen, and it doesn't. And so I think that's kind of interesting to me, to see where it's like a world in which reality has literally been torn asunder, but not by vampires or zombies or whatever, just by this absence. I mean, I'm interested to see where it goes. I mean, I have to say the pilot didn't bowl me over, but I think it's you know, with HBO, you always give them 3 or 4 episodes to get moving, because they're HBO, they don't have to worry so much about like the ratings on the first, so they don't have to like front load everything. So
well, then too with that, there was actually, I had a couple Twitter comments. I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name who was tweeting us. He was saying, you know, do you think True Blood really appealed to a younger demographic? Can The Leftovers do the same? And will they keep watching after all the dogs are shot? Because dogs somehow are this emotional, you know, little capsule that people don't want to ever hurt animals.
The dog.
Yeah. So, you know, do you think it can appeal to that same demographic?
Well, I mean, there's the daughter of the sheriff and the son of the sheriff are 2 young people, and they are dealing with their loss in very different ways. One is becoming an even more disaffected teenager than usual, and the other one has joined a cult somewhere off in the desert. I'm not exactly, you know, because I thought we were in upstate New York, and then we flashed to him, and he's in the desert, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. So there obviously are young characters to entice a younger audience. There's also just kind of that feeling of disaffectedness, and also, you know, how do you cope in a world where it isn't turning out to be the way that you thought it would be? So that's a theme. It is a little subtle because big things don't happen. I mean, we do have, you know, there's some shooting in the dogs, and, you know, and they're not our dogs anymore, and that guy, the mysterious stranger. But, you know, and of course it's, you know, it's coming from Lost. You know? It's like, you know, so there's that, but I don't know. It'll just be, it seems very adult, but I watched it with my 16-year-old, and he liked it. It's
that subtle supernatural too, because it's like, what is this deer? What are these dogs?
Is
like
this just a deer, or is this a symbol?
Or is this a dream?
Or is
you don't
even
know.
Yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
So
because the deer came into the sheriff's house and like tore everything apart.
Well,
so
apparently
like,
we think the deer did.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. The sheriff didn't seem too upset when he came down. And
his
daughter's missing and his kitchen's in disarray. I thought I would be on the blower about that. Has anybody seen my kid?
All right. So do you think it's worth watching?
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, I'm very curious to see where it's going to go. It's beautifully shot.
Very beautiful.
Great cast. It's, you know, it'll be interesting to see. But it is kind of like, because Under the Dome is coming back, and it is kind of interesting to see, you know, where they will diverge.
Yeah. I cannot wait for Under the Dome. Yeah. I am in love with that miniseries. So excited. What else do you think is worthwhile? I'm sorry. I just love the cheesiest shows on television.
You know,
you got me hooked on Pretty Little Liars this summer.
Yeah.
All of
well, you have to watch Pretty Little Liars.
I've been binging that. It's terrible. What else do you want to watch?
Even though binging is so bad for our health now. But did you read that study?
No.
You know, where it's like, you know, if you watch more than an hour of television, it's you have 44% chance of dying young or something.
Forget about
crazy.
it. I'm at like 95%.
Oh my God, I got to get out of this job.
Ignore that. Ignore that study. It never happened.
Who knew being a TV critic was like more dangerous than being in the field of a military operation? Anything else to watch? Yeah, well, we were just talking about The Last Ship on TNT. Murder in the First on TNT is good. Falling Skies is coming back, also on TNT. This has been brought to you by TNT. You know, there's all sorts of great stuff on, you know, the World Cup.
Obviously.
We can tear ourselves away from the World Cup.
I know.
And I don't know. What are you watching?
World Cup, Pretty Little Liars. I'm going back to all the old school shows this summer and finding a bunch of stuff on Netflix. That's really... Although apparently it all ends up being teen dramas, so that says something about how I need to turn off at the end of the day working here.
The teen drama.
I need a little teen drama in my life.
Well, that's
Maybe
true.
because I'm not a mom of a teen or anything.
Well, no, because these are the problems that you've already overcome, so you can feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I've overcome that murderous, you know, person who's texting me things all day.
Oh, and the Musketeers on BBC America. That is very good. Have you watched that yet? It's really good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll add something smart into my lineup then.
Yes. BBC America is always good.
Always good. Mary, thank you so much. As always, you are great. So thank you so much for sharing your insights on HBO's Sunday night lineup, and of course all of your TV knowledge. And if you guys have any shows you think we should be binge watching this summer along with our other picks, let us know by tweeting us at LA Times.